Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? We're back live again in our favorite stomping ground in the internet pub of parts unknown. I'm coming at you live with another Draft House, which is our bi-weekly show. I'm glad that y'all have decided to join us. Jimmy, what's going on, buddy? No. Why can't I hear nobody? Can't hear Jimmy. No. Already starting. I jinxed this earlier. That's all right. We're just going to keep on rocking until Jimmy gets it fixed. Anyway. So, like I said, this is our Draft House. Toby, how are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. I guess it wouldn't be a draft house without any given Sunday, because we seem to have one of those Jamie Foxx moments where it's a throw up and then we get the thing cranking. And I think we about to do it again and have a great show. I'm doing good.
Mike, what's up, buddy?
Yes, sir. Hey, it's another week, JR. Draft House, like I said, it's March, happy March, Pound family. It's kind of interesting as we talk about this Draft House this week, because there's a lot of changes. There's been a lot of changes going around this league. J.J. Watt, freaking Arizona Cardinal. It's been a strange offseason, but I think that, this episode, man, I think, it's time that we start really digging into, as we talk about J.J. Watt, some of those guys that really, affect the quarterback, those guys that pressure the quarterback, So, it's another good week, man, to talk to these people. It's Draft House. It's what we love to do. We got everybody tapped in, man. So, JR, man, I expect another good show this week, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. As soon as we get the everything straightened out, ain't it? It seems like we always got something going on. Too many clicking and moving parts, I guess. But either way, I think this week, you got J.J. Watt now signing with the Arizona Cardinals. You got, Kyle Van Noy getting released 1 year into a contract. You got some Saints, making moves, and they still ain't under the cap. But, all that can be addressed on the, on our regular show. But this show here, we tend to try to focus strictly, on the draft, as it is a fun topic to talk about. So this week, as the title ensues, this is what I'm calling Rush Week. Last time we did Draft House, I challenged the guys to give me some third and fourth rounders, right? I hit y'all up with a scenario of, I think it was Justin Fields, and I can't even remember who the second round pick was now, but I hit y'all with a scenario saying, this is what y'all had. What do y'all got for me in the third or fourth round? Y'all threw me out some names, and we had a real good discussion. So I liked that format. So I decided to hit y'all with a different set of parameters this week. And as Brandon Levy has tipped us $5 already, thank you, Brandon. He said, P for P, 4 horsemen, extrapolate a little bit, y'all. See, here we go again. Already starting with those $5 words. But anyway, so, I know it, right? But that's why we have the best fans out there, the best viewers. They tend to have as much fun as we do. But anywho, so the scenario that I wanted to hit y'all with this week was, let's try to fix the pass rush. Okay. And, what I wanted to do is I wanted to hear your thoughts on a high round draft pick. And what I mean by that is a pick who you think is going to go from 1 to 3, like rounds 1 to 3, right? That's what I'm considering. Those from 1 to 3, I want starters, in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Like, by the time you get to the third round, it might be a rotational guy, but you see what I'm saying? Like, I want the first 3 rounds, I want guys who contribute quite a bit. So I wanted y'all to give me a high round draft pick and then a low round draft pick. Somebody you thought we could grab in the 4th round or lower that could come in and maybe be a situational pass rush, may take a few years to grow into being a force, but guys that we think can also come in and contribute. But before we get into that, I haven't heard Jimmy. Are you good yet? I don't. No, I still can't hear you. Let me. First of all, while I try to figure out what's going on with Jimmy, what are y'all's thoughts here of the mock draft community starting to show some like crazy love? Not crazy, but some serious love to Kyle Pitts for us at 4. What are your thoughts on that? Because that is gaining some serious traction.
Yeah, I'll start with that because, Kyle Pitts is really what kicked off this draft house, right? This is probably draft house 8.0. I would say 1.0. My very first pick was Kyle Pitts. I would say being a fan of the SEC, I've had a chance to see this guy on multiple occasions. I've seen multiple comparisons, and some I like, some I don't necessarily like. I did see that they consider him to be kind of the Travis Kelce of this draft. Now, again, I don't like to put lofty expectations on tight ends, but I'll be honest with you. This is not a Travis Kelce type of tight end. This is actually, he's his own player, to be honest with you. He's really more of a wide receiver that has tight end mismatch problems. Again, I would love a Kyle Pitts to the Atlanta Falcons because this is, like I said, Toby, we talk about this a lot. This is slowly becoming the best division in football, the most competitive division in football. We need a mismatch. We don't have any clear mismatches in the NFC South. So I think, when I'm starting to see the love for Kyle Pitts, I think a lot of these scouts are starting to wake up and really starting to assess this NFC South and really say, well, hey, look, where could he really come in and really make an impact? I could see Kyle Pitts, and to be honest with you, we talk a lot about Arthur Smith. JR, you like to talk a lot about Arthur Smith from how he utilizes 2 tight ends from a running standpoint. I would love to see how he could utilize 2 tight ends from a passing standpoint with 2 pass catchers like a Hayden Hurst and a Kyle Pitts.
Toby, what's your initial thoughts on Pitts, and then we're gonna get into our topic.
Well, I'm stepping on out there. I said it before. I'm going Tony Gonzalez all the way, Doc. I think this guy is a once-in-a-generational type player, and he's done it day in and day out against top competition and hasn't dropped a ball in the red zone. Now peep that. Right. I mean, this is a guy that every time he's gotten in the red zone hadn't dropped a 1. Now, how many tight ends do you know are doing that today? This dude can run routes like no other right now, and I think right now he's in a class all by himself, and he deserves to be talked about in them top 5 draft, in my opinion.
Okay.
Absolutely.
No, hey man, I'm down with it. Like, what's that? We got
Jimmy.
Hey, I am sorry about those technical difficulties.
That's okay.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna work through them like we do every week.
Anyway, we got to keep on pushing, right?
On pushing. That's right.
I need to touch on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Don't leave.
Yes, sir.
Please don't leave out old Jumbo Z, the little OG. Hey, look here, man. We don't need another tight end, big dog.
Oh.
We don't.
Oh man, cut his mic.
He said cut his mic.
Hey,
we was doing good. We was doing good.
If you're gonna fill a tight end position, you fill that in free agency. You don't draft no tight end at 4. Now, if you're gonna put him at receiver, go through arbitrations. Let's do some arbitration with him first, and label him as a receiver. Then you're gonna have to pay him as a receiver. Then you got to pay him. It's a lot going on now. Give me a tight end in free agency. Give me somebody that's going to be, a generational player at 4. We're talking about a top 5 pick. Kyle Pitts is a generational player? I don't know.
He's getting a lot of love. I'll say that.
Hey, man. Let me tell you something. There's not another tight end right now in this class that has played against top-notch talent as Kyle Pitts has and has excelled. All right, now, I don't think you heard me. Hasn't dropped a red zone TD at all. Okay, you tell me another tight end in the draft class that has done that and shown you that and can run routes like no other and catch balls in contested situations.
Oh, he in the classes of his own now, but he's not what I'll call as a top 4 pick. Listen, if the Falcons take him at number 4, that'd be the highest drafted tight end in NFL history. Let me repeat that. That'll be the highest drafted tight end in NFL history if you take him at number 4. And then he gonna want that tight end money around that fifth year option. He gonna want that tight end money. I just can't go there right now at 4. That's just me. I mean, but I still see where you coming from, Toby. I still see where you coming from. Not to drop not one ball in the red zone when the Atlanta Falcons was the worst team, one of the worst teams in the league in the red zone last year. That's kind of hard to bypass, but I just can't do 4 at tight end. I just can't do it.
Hey, look, I understand, but that's the point of this, right?
Love it.
Right, because like if we all sit up here and agree, then what's the point of having a discussion? What's the point of having a conversation, right? That's just my opinion. My biggest thing that I saw, like my only knock, and maybe some of the other guys, in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, because y'all know me. I ain't got time to watch a ton of, college tape while it's going on. I'll key in on players and I'll, watch tape in the off season. The only thing I didn't see much of Mr. Pitts was how good of a blocker is he? Is it a thing where you can?
With Kyle Pitts, we don't do blocking. No. Time out. We don't do blocking. That's not why you here. That's not. Look. Hold on, Toby. Hold on now. Listen, because JR talked about this. Now I'm going back to JR real quick.
Yeah.
JR said Arthur Smith likes tight ends who can block. Look. Tight ends who can block. That's not what we're here for. But you want red zone, right? We want red zone efficiency, like Jimbo said. We want top 5, right? You want a top. Well, I can't say top 5 red zone, but we want people to catch the ball in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Kyle Pitts. All that blocking stuff, you can draft. You can pass on me, sir. I'm Deion Sanders. Don't draft me.
I got you.
If you want.
Well, now look, Adam Holloway in the chat, who does a lot of real good breakdown stuff on Twitter. If y'all ain't followed him, he's over here saying that he's a good blocker.
And I was just about to tell you that. Too.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Talk about it.
Hit me with it.
Hey, listen here. I ain't gonna step out on the limb from a bus. He's a once in a generation player. If he can't block, Arthur Smith gonna want that block.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
This guy has shown. Not only can he block, he's a strong blocker at that.
Okay.
When he gets on contact with you, now he gonna do some business on you. I'm tell you that right now. I don't see him.
Okay. All right. No. That's all. Hey, look, that's all I need to hear. If the man can block and don't drop anything in the red zone, take him at 4 and we'll call it a day.
That's right.
Go ahead and call it.
Right.
Now, Stu the Pepperhead done tipped us $5 already.
Oh,
Stu, how you doing today?
Stu, baby.
He says, "Rise up, fam. Thoughts on trading back and grabbing Surtain at 9 or 10?" I think we'll trade back all day long. At least this group will. I know there's other groups out there that won't, but I'll take draft capital and take chances on guys like Surtain or even Pitts at 9 or 10 if he's there. I'll take it all day long. I'm all about stocking up draft capital. Look, if any of y'all ever play first person shooters on like video game wise, okay, I'm going to draw you up an analogy. You got some guys who are snipers. You got some guys who are mid-range guys, and then you got some guys who are heavy gunners, okay? If you know what a heavy gunner is, that's a guy running around with a belt fed, okay? A belt fed has got at least 100 rounds on it, right? I am the belt fed guy. I want as much ammo as possible to tear down my target, okay? The more ammo I have, the better chance I have of hitting at what I'm aiming at, okay? I've always made the joke that if I could aim, I'd be deadly when it comes to these first-person shooter games. So I much rather have a lot of so I'm always going to be in favor of trading down. Like you giving me a scenario, the only time I'm not going to trade down is if it helps a divisional opponent. Like I ain't trading with Carolina. I ain't trying to help Carolina get their quarterback. But if Washington needs a quarterback, sure, come on, we'll trade. You can give up your second, third, your first next year. We'll do business. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm always down for trading down. Stu follows it up with another $5 tip. Says, I want a D that can keep opponents out of the end zone in the last daggum 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Yeah,
yes, I'm with that.
Flat out.
But here's the thing though. If they hold on with us, we're gonna get to that because I feel like we that's real secondary. We're talking real secondary, but this rush week, baby.
That's right.
I think we can get there with some pressure to the quarterback. So I think we're gonna segue into that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
going already.
Right. No, that's a good segue in that aspect. I was trying to go ahead, like with this being a different type of show, I was trying to go ahead and get to the tips now and answer those questions before we get into our topic. But our topic this week, like I stated out, is it is rush week, and we are trying to fix the Falcons' rush woes. The Falcons have had rush woes since Jonathan Abraham's been here. Okay,
right.
even when the Predator was here, you were still trying to find somebody opposite of him. Okay,
Yeah, please, somewhere.
you know.
Somewhere.
So we've had woes on like maybe even since the Bomb Squad or Chuck Smith and all them guys. So
Oh yeah.
all right, we're gonna get into this. Fred Butts tipped us $5. It says Parsons should be our pick at 4. End of story. Parsons, I feel like is gonna come up. He may not be our pick, but I think he's gonna come up. So all right, I would like to start. I think who started last time? I think I had Toby start last time. So
was it?
I can't
Was it
remember.
No, Big Mike.
It was Big Mike. All right, so we're gonna start with
Mike.
Toby this time. Then how about that?
Uh-oh.
Now we're gonna start at our first, our high pick. Right. This is the guy. What I want y'all to do is I want y'all to tell me where you think this person's gonna get drafted. Like where you think we're gonna take him. Right. And then we'll get into it there. So our first guy up, Toby. Why don't you just go ahead and take it away?
Okay. So this guy right here, there's a lot of talks about him possibly sneaking into the bottom half of the first round. Unfortunately, he didn't really get to shine until he got to the Miami Hurricanes. Now, he came from UCLA. Jaelan Phillips, defensive end, outside linebacker, 6'5", 266 pounds. Go-to move, the inside swim move. I mean, man, I'm one of those type of guys. If you can master a one pass rush move and take that with you into the NFL, then you got something. We watched Adrian Claiborne forever use that stab club move and still kept getting to the quarterback. So I'm all about that inside swim move. I mean, when you can use that thing against tackles, and if they move you on the inside, still use the same move and know how to time it, I'm falling in love with that. This guy got to get off that I like. The only thing that bothers me about him a little bit is his stunt and twist game. Ain't really that solid to me when I watch him. He gets stuck in the mud when it comes to that. But other than that, man, you put on that Duke game, you put on that Virginia Tech game, man, he looks like a world beater, 7 sacks, 15.5 tackles for loss. One season, like I said, you probably going to have to see where his injury history is because he has some concussions throughout his history, which is why he couldn't really, one of the reasons why he couldn't get his career off the ground in UCLA, and plus he got hit by a car. I mean, talk about rough luck getting started. But I believe Gregory Rousseau, he had opted out, right? So that was perfect opportunity for Jaelan Phillips because he can take the number 15 and do his thing with it. So I think this is a guy that has the measurables. I'm interested to see what his pro day is going to be when the Miami Hurricanes pro day come up. But I think this guy could possibly sneak in there, and Kansas City could be a team to look out for if the Falcons don't trade down that far or jump back into the first round to get him, because I don't think he's going to make it.
So you're
35.
thinking he's tail end first, beginning of second in that area?
Yeah,
I got you. Okay. Now he is a guy like as I was doing this, one guy that I keyed in on that I just using mock draft simulators that I just couldn't make work. I was trying to get Quincy Roche as my lower tier guy, but every time I did a mock draft, he was in the third round, and I already had my high round guy that I wanted. You know what I'm saying? But number 15 did jump out at me, and when you said that's who you wanted to take, I was happy to hear that, because I was glad somebody wanted to talk about Jaelan Phillips there. Anybody else got anything to say on Jaelan?
No. Good.
No. We've covered Jaelan. I think we know a lot about Jaelan. I think that Jimbo and I are very hesitant about guys who start at UCLA and wear UCLA helmets that potentially could be drafted. But I think him going from UCLA to Miami gives me a little bit more of enough confidence. I've seen him play. I think he's a guy that adds a little bit of attitude that we need to this defense. And if we take him, he makes our defense better. Period.
No, I like it. I like the way that sounds. Duncan the Delinquent tipped us $5. He said Justin Fields should be our pick at 4 if we're not trading down. And Asante Samuel Jr. would be a great pick in the second as well. All those are valid points. I mean, if we don't trade down, it very well could be something that that we could be looking at, and it's something that we're going to continue to talk about throughout this whole process, is whether, Justin Fields or whoever should be our pick at 4. And it's something I'm going to get into before we fully end this show, because I got a thought on a lot of that. But anyway, so, all right, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Jimmy. Jimmy, who do you have? Because you have another interesting first-round pick that I am, or not, maybe not first round. You have to tell us where you think he's going to be, but I want to hear about your high round pick. Who you taking?
And I'm going with Paye, Paye, out of Michigan. This guy, man, this is an interesting case with this guy, because every time I did a mock draft or I looked at a big board from different guys from NFL Network and all the guys out there, at one point he's in the later. In that last end before 35, up in there. And then the next day or so, he's in the 3rd round. And then the next day or so, he in the 2nd round. And then he back into the 1st. I mean, he just fluctuating all over the place. And the thing about, I think the reason why he's fluctuating, because his career at Michigan was just that. It was fluctuating. His first year, he had 1 sack, 2017. The year after that, he had 2 sacks. And then he went to 6.5, and then he fell back to 2 sacks. So he did this kind of to himself. One of those guys that kind of, after that 6.5 sacks he had, he should have just gone ahead. Now, if like I was kind of telling y'all before the show, if he could play Indiana, Purdue, and Rutgers 6 games over and over, 12 games over and over again, the scouts, NFL scouts, would be beating his dough down. They'd be trying to get to him. This guy's is a specimen now. 6'4", 272. Now he's knocking on 300 there. He's knocking on 300. But you gotta show effort in the big games. That's what NFL scouts want to see. In the big games, he just was quiet as a church mouse. Now he made a little noise in the Ohio State game in 2018. I want to say I think he had a sack, one of those sacks. But you can't fluctuate. You got to be consistent at that pass rush area. Like Mike said, somebody's tipped us and said, we got to get the people off the field. That's what we need consistent pass rush at. And he's just not consistent. So it's kind of fluctuating with him. Now, don't get me wrong. When he looked good, kind of like Jaelan Clowney coming out of South Carolina, when they looked at good, he looked at unstoppable. But then when he did look bad against the big teams, he looked at bad. He just didn't do himself no justice. So I see him late 3rd, after 35, maybe right before the 3rd round in there. But he still could go in the 1st round, which is kind of blowing me. But at the same time, some people can take the chance and see that physical raw talent and say, like a Dan Pease can say, okay, I can turn this into my guy. I can make him into my guy because he got the physical stature that I want to play a certain position on his defense to help the defense look good. So I see him in the late 3rd, late 1st, or almost early 2nd, day 2 guy.
I got you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I think one quick thing on Kwity Paye or Paye, Kwity Paye.
Paye, yeah.
The thing about Kwity Paye that sticks out to me is he actually reminds me of a guy that was a Baltimore Raven for a while, and he was a Falcon a couple years, our Super Bowl year. It's like Courtney Upshaw.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of that. That kind of tweener guy. Like, here's the thing. I think you remember when Courtney Upshaw played with the Ravens, I thought he was really good against the run, and we kind of knew that's what you got Courtney Upshaw to do. So I think if we could get a Kwity Paye and not necessarily use him as, what we're talking about right now is pure pass rusher, I do think that we could use him to set the edge a little bit more. Because you're right, 6'4", 270 means we're gonna get some production. We're gonna get decent production. But I don't think he's a guy that we can really count on for 12 to 13 sacks. But he's a guy that I've looked at a lot, and I was really close to pulling the trigger on him around that 2nd, 3rd round period because there is a role for him, on this Atlanta Falcons team.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was like looking, the cursory looks I had at Kwity Paye early on really did seem like this is when people were potentially mocking him at 4, right? Yeah. Early on. And and I was watching him and I was like, man, that's high draft capital for a run stopper.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a run stopper. I'll give it to him. That man can set an edge. But you had a real good comparison in Courtney Upshaw, because that is exactly what he reminded me of
Exactly.
It always shocked me that they had Upshaw listed as an outside linebacker because I'm like, that man's a DT. Okay, that man's like, he is definitely.
They put Upshaw through the arbitration, man.
Right.
But this is the thing here too, though. I don't know if we want to bring in a Kwity Paye when we got a Marlon Davidson. Almost the same guy already on the team.
Yep.
So,
that is. Yep. That is a definite possibility there.
Good point. Great point.
So let's see. All right. So that is Kwity Paye. Let's go ahead and take his picture down. So
see you later.
He is out. All right. So now I guess this kind of leaves me and Mike. All right, because we got the same guy here. So I'm gonna do the host thing, so to speak, and I'm gonna let Mike take off and let you start off with this, and then I'll come in on you. Okay, once you get your initial spiel out, so to speak. So, Mike, who do you got on your high round draft pick?
Hey man, let me tell you something right now. We're just gonna put this out there. Toby don't like when I use these bumper sticker quotations, but I got to do it because here's the thing. Dan Quinn, I like what he was saying when he said fast and physical. But you know what we didn't have? Mean. Let me tell you something. Yeah. The guy that I got, he's mean. That's what we were hoping Victor Beasley was. We were hoping Tack McKinley were. They didn't now let me get me wrong. Tack was mean, but he wasn't fast and physical.
No.
This guy got it all. He's fast and physical, he mean, he's smooth, and he's a smart player. Who am I talking about? Fans want me to stop talking. I'm going Aziz Ojulari, Georgia Bulldogs. I got us trading potentially in the 19 to 22 range. I don't have a team, but use your imagination. 19 to 22 range. Why would I go Aziz Ojulari? Because, say it with me now, innovation leads to transformation.
Oh,
let me tell you something.
I like that.
We need some innovation, right, in the way we utilize this defense. We need some innovation to transform this defense.
Right.
Dean Pease and Aziz Ojulari would be a match made in heaven. Let me explain to you why. Now, Aziz Ojulari, if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan like me and Jimbo, we watch every game. I've actually watched this guy since he was in high school. He's an Atlanta kid, Marietta High School. He's been a star since he first, put on a helmet. And I can tell that his younger brother is a star in the making as well. So this is a football family. These guys here love football, know football, and play really good football. Let me tell you what I saw about Aziz Ojulari just watching the Bulldogs. He was a guy that, now, true enough, his strength is rushing the passer. That he is a straight speed pass rush guy. He's got a rip move, and he doesn't have a lot of moves, which could be a knock on him. He's not a counter move, all of that kind of stuff. But for me, I've seen enough of this guy that he's the guy that I just want to get in the building and coach him up. Like I said, this is a guy that Dean Pease likes because I've watched enough of his tape to know that he's a player that comes in really humble. He played, and like I said, he's played against some really good competition. And he was the alpha dog of a linebacker room at UGA that could go toe-to-toe with any other linebacker room in the country. It's probably one of the top outside linebacker rooms, top to bottom, anywhere that you go in the country. No nonsense. And the one thing that the reason why I think Aziz Ojulari really should be a top 10 pick is he is actually better against the run than people realize. Because what I saw, the difference between a Vic Beasley and an Aziz Ojulari is when you see these guys make plays against the run. You go back to Vic Beasley in college, he made a lot of plays, crushing the quarterback, speed, unblocked speed rush plays. What you don't see a lot from Vic Beasley is smashing a guy on the run, stuffing the run.
Yeah, I got
like setting the point of attack at a highly physical level. And I think that is where I think what would make Aziz Ojulari potentially a 3-down player, coming out the gate, and a guy with the right coaching and the right system would not surprise me at all to see him lead all rookies in sacks because he's as good of a football player as he is pass rusher, and he's smart. And I'm going to rest my case on him, and I'm ready for anybody in the chat who got anything to say against Aziz Ojulari because it should be a good conversation. So,
what are you talking about, man? The chat, they are stuck on Justin Fields and quarterbacks and everything else. I'm not 100% sure if they're paying attention to us. Now, Kojak Mantucker is paying attention to us. He tipped us $10 and said, innovation leads to transformation, #UGA. So that's great. I think These Falcons fans are definitely happy to see us mocking, talking about a UGA player. So that's
It's time. It's time,
right.
baby. It's time.
And I agree. Like again, I'll say it a million times over so that people don't get the wrong idea about me, right? Because one thing I ain't trying to do is put forth a false narrative. I don't watch a ton of live football or live college football, so I've watched a lot of cut up tape of Ojulari, of the defense that Georgia rolled out there. And Ojulari, what I liked about him, and I'm going to read you this stat. First of all, man is 6'3", 240 pounds. You add 10 pounds of NFL weight on him, that's 250. You're talking about almost a perfect outside linebacker in a DP system. You go back and look at the outside linebackers that he's had. Terrell Suggs, Harold Landry at Tennessee, Elmas Duverville. You know what I'm saying? He fits the same profile, okay, as far as the physicals go. Now, career sacks, what I liked about him, he went from 5.5 in 2019 to 9.5 in 2020. Okay. So,
that's right.
When you get an uptick in production like that, what I enjoy seeing that. To me, that's progression that you're building. Now, the part that really makes me excited is something you touched on, but I'm going to throw it at you in the same aspect, but in stat form. And that is tackles for loss. My man had 12.5 tackles for loss. That tells me that he's not just a pass rusher and that's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's like, as you say, these are things that I have been learning to look for over the years. Okay. I want a guy who, can produce all game long. Whether it's stuff that necessarily shows up on the stat sheet or not. I want an active player. What I felt like Beasley was not an active player. Like, it was like if he wasn't getting home on twists and stunts, he just wasn't getting home, right? And so, but what I saw out of Ojulari is he would be perfect for twists and stunts. He's got pass rushing moves. As Adam Holloway just pointed out, Aziz works on the stab and club so well, and is a rock against the run too. That's the
absolutely.
So
there you go.
It's an idea, that I love to see multiple things, like a player being able to do multiple deals. One of the worst things that I think has come out in the last few years. I say worst things. It's going to make it sound bad, but the idea that somebody can be just a rotational pass rusher. Y'all remember when we did that with OCU Manura? He was the DPR, designated pass rush. Okay, look, you're taking up a spot on my roster to come out on third down or second and long. Yeah, no, I want a guy who can be out there all three downs. And Aziz Ojulari, the only thing now I'm gonna defer to you, Georgia Bulldog guys, as like I said, I hadn't sitting here, didn't watch him for a whole couple years or whatever. But how is he in coverage? Can he drop in coverage and actually cover somebody, or is that an area that he needs to work on, or should we just not ask him to do that at all?
Ooh, okay, Jimbo, let me take that one just a little bit, and because Jimbo and I, this is a guy that Jimbo and I know very well, because again, we watched this guy bud into Aziz Ojulari. Mm-hmm. Like I said, he was always a guy from the very first time you watched him play. He could always get to the quarterback. Now, he couldn't always make the tackle, but he worked on it, right? Now, what I saw Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart do a lot with Aziz Ojulari is actually have him shade tight ends and receivers a lot more. So if you look against Alabama, you look against, I'll say teams like Tennessee, he actually flashed in those games with batting down balls. Mm-hmm. That's another element to his game. He's good with batting down balls. And now here's the thing. You don't really look for him to be a guy in coverage, but you do look for him to be a guy to put his hands on a tight end. Again, another difference from Vic Beasley and Aziz Ojulari. Again, because you see the same measurables and you immediately think Vic Beasley, speedy guy, but this is not Vic Beasley. This is a guy that if he puts his hands on you, I think that's really one of his actually most underrated assets is his hands. Because it seems like when he puts his hands on you, you go back. And in football, you need guys that do two things. If they put their hands on you, you go back. And if they hit you, you go back. Those are guys you want to give them a helmet and put them on your team. So, yeah.
But go ahead. Just
go ahead,
one quick Not far as coverage, but he do reroute. What you want your outside linebacker to do? He reroutes very well, and he walls the tight end off into the second level, the third level, which is what he was really good at. And he got really physical at rerouting players at the line of scrimmage and then going to a zone or walling somebody off in the cover 2 down the middle. He was pretty good at that because his arms are long, and he has his feet. He's just naturally fast too. So rerouting and walling off the inside receiver to the tight end he did pretty well.
Now I will say this: I watched I had time to sit down and watch the full. I think it was the Cotton Bowl. I could be wrong. Where they played Cincinnati.
The
Cincinnati game.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And he was a force to be reckoned with. Peach Bowl. He was a force to be reckoned with in that game. And I really enjoyed, what he was all over the field, and I enjoyed watching him play. But now, I'm with you in the sense of I feel like he is a perfect trade down candidate. But I also saw him in more than one simulator that I ran, because that was one way I used to determine who I could pick where, kind of deal.
I did too.
And one of them I ran more than one. I was able to actually grab him at the very top of the second round.
Nice.
So I guess it just depends on how it shakes out. If there's like a big run on wide receivers or whatnot, he might get pushed down. But I believe Aziz Ojulari is, if not the cream of the crop, one of the cream of the crop of this like defensive pass rushing class, which seems to be more solid than spectacular. But I think he does err on the side of spectacular, in my opinion. Before we move on to our lower round guys, Breezy tipped us $2 and said, trade down for Kyle Pitts and Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. Thank you for the save there, Mike.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I appreciate you. Yeah, that guy, I believe he's from Notre Dame, isn't he? Yeah. He was a guy that, like, it was coming down, my top round guys was coming down to Ojulari, Owusu, or Roche, and that was like first, second, third round, But eventually I really kept going back to Ojulari, and I was like, that's just my guy. That's who I'm going to go with. And when Mike told me he was going to go with Ojulari as well, I was like, good. We'll have we can have a good discussion about Ojulari.
And to that point, Toby didn't believe me. Toby thought I was going to switch up and go another pass rush at the last second, but I did stick with Ojulari this week.
See, man, we could have had that if we stuck with Andre Cisco, man. That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
He
say
was
that.
ACL away, man. ACL away. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Well, we're going to move into our lower tier guys now. The guys who we think are going to be there from fourth or fifth, fourth and on, rather.
This way get good.
This saying that, hey, we do stick it out at 4, and we take the, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, type deal, and then we grab a running back in the second round, So now we hit the, third, fourth, fifth, fourth and fifth, and now it's time to work on that defense again. Give Dean Pease something to use, because as we've all known, Dean Pease is no stranger to taking underwhelming talent and turning it into something special. I mean, how much money did he make Paul Kruger back in the day? How much money did he make Ellerby, Donnell Ellerby? That's what I'm saying. Like they left Pease and they went back to being just ordinary guys. Pernell McPhee comes to mind. One of the few pass rushers that I've actually seen leave Baltimore and become better, or not better, but at least stay at the same level, was Zadarius Smith. And that was kind of a when he got signed, I was like, oh, there's just another Baltimore pass rusher that's going to go somewhere else and not perform. But I was wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong. But anyway, so we are, like I said, I think I'll start it off with this one. We'll go do snake method. We'll go me, then Mike, and then right back up to y'all. I am going to talk about another pass rusher out of Notre Dame, another Golden Domer. I know Owusu or whatever the gentleman's name. Like I said, he was up in the highs. I couldn't really grab him, but this gentleman was squarely there in the 4th round, and he was consistently there in the 4th round. So I felt good about taking him. And it was Dalen Hayes out of Notre Dame. Now, what I like about Mr. Hayes is he's a guy who's 6'3", 258, right? Solidly built, and he has been playing since 2016, so 5 solid seasons, and has been productive in all of those seasons, right? And that's something that I look for is, can you have production, and does it, like, what does it do? Right. Does it get better? Do you flash and then go back down? Like, this is where I look at stats to try to help me tell the story, right? Stats aren't the only thing. Then you have to obviously watch tape to see what you see. But stats are a way to start to tell you the story. And the story of Dalen is a career of 9 sacks. So he's not like a huge sack production guy, but I think he's a guy who can be better in the pros than he was in college, right? I think he has like better football ahead of him. The part that I really liked was the tackles for loss. He had 20.5 total tackles for loss, so he was pretty consistent every year, and that was something that I saw on tape. You know, his ability to play the run very well. I enjoy the way he was able to. Oh man, my brain just locked up. Anyway, was able to disengage off of blocks is what I was trying to say. Disengage off of blocks and get to the running back, or sniff out run plays from the backside. Forced fumbles, grand total of four forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, 4 pass defenses. You see what I'm saying? Like. Right, consistent. And active. This is what I like, especially if you're going to get, a 4th round guy, right? Guys starting in the later rounds. I want guys who are going to be active, guys who seem like they have that dog mentality, who don't give up on plays. Very rarely did I catch the guy loafing at all. Even if the play wasn't on his side of the field, he was locked up and engaged with somebody. My only real problem that I saw is that he doesn't seem to have a ton of pass rushing moves. Now, obviously, somebody who may watch more film than me can be like, JR, you're an idiot. But I'm just telling you what I saw. He did seem to get locked up with offensive tackles a little more than I would like. But I think that it's something that is correctable and coachable, right? Given Dean Pease's history with other guys coming out of like lower schools, like you take Matt Judon, right? He was in Grand Valley State, I believe. Yeah. Like you take his size and like his measurables and his like stats and stuff like that. Stats aren't necessarily similar, but the way they play is pretty similar. And I think if Judon had went to a Notre Dame or an Alabama, I think he would look closer to what Hayes looks like in college. And I think, like I said, I think Hayes is going to be better in the pros than he was in college. And then Adam Holloway noted, it says, and the Atlanta Falcons were noted by Hayes, who said he had an amazing interview with them. I hadn't gotten into that point, so that's interesting to know that the Falcons have already talked to Hayes. I think Hayes is a guy who, like I said, can come in initially and be, a rotational guy maybe to begin with, but in a season or two can be a guy that we count on, game in and game out. Yep. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on Hayes or not.
Well, I think JR. I think that if we go back to what was the interview we did with the Falconholic Eric Robinson, when he talked about the Senior Bowl, he spoke about Dalen Hayes. He was one guy that came in, did what the coaches asked him to do, and I think this is another draft, another reminder that as a coach, if you get some of these guys in the right system, some of these guys can be ready to roll. I think that we draft a guy like that, he comes in and takes snaps from a Marlon Davidson, just because I think that Dalen Hall's a guy I did study. I think he's a little bit more polished. I think he's a little bit better coached. It's surprising coming from Notre Dame than Marlon Davidson was a little bit. And he's a guy that, to be honest with you, I think that probably could be a rotational player first 2 years, but by the end of the second year, definitely.
Yeah, that's the kind of way I feel.
Yeah.
Josh Gilham brought up a point. He says, would be great to show highlights in the background. I would love to do stuff like that, Josh, but it is so easily to get dinged on here for, copyright claims and get strikes and stuff on the channel, and definitely not necessarily trying to do that. But yeah, I would love to show highlights, and I'm thinking about maybe doing like an unmonetized, like recording my thought processes as I'm watching film, like audibly talking through it. I don't know if that would be something anybody would be interested in. But anyway, yes, I would love to show highlights in the background, but you're jumping into territory that we don't have the rights to use, right? Adam Holloway follows it up. He says, Hayes is a really good 3-4 outside linebacker, high effort, really good on stunts. Yes, that's something I did see. I didn't meant to mention. Very good on stunts. I really enjoyed watching that. He can also drop into coverage and not a liability at all. That was the point I was making with, the pass defenses and the, forced fumbles and stuff like that. I like seeing an active player, right? All right, Mike, who is your lower tier draft guy that I'm be interested to see who you got here?
Come on, Mike. Come on,
Mike.
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Scouts, NFL scouts. This is really more of a knock on y'all, because I did what JR asked me to do. He told me to look at value, and that's what I did. Now to look at this guy's tape and to see that you guys have him rated as the number 7th, 8th edge guy, I think is a little bit telltale on some of you guys, because I look at this guy and I see good bend, I see fluid hips, I see lateral movement, and I see a guy who pushes the pocket. And who am I talking about? Jonathan Cooper. Jonathan Cooper from Ohio State, 6'4", 265, 270. Now, again, he's a guy that I like, because the one thing that sticks out to me about Jonathan Cooper is the number 37. And what do you mean? 37 games played at Ohio State. So I think that says a lot about the guy, that he's played a lot of football in college. See, what happens a lot of times with a lot of these guys, we do film on, we evaluate, we mock. They're 3-and-done guys, a lot of potential opt-outs. Russo, you don't know a lot about him. Couple years, good year. He's had, I would say, 4 solid years. I would say high average to solid. I think now where people give a little bit of a knock on him is, there are times where he just disappears in a game. Now, again, that might give people some Dante Fowler-ish vibes, but he is also a guy that I will say is this: when the games are bright, those lights are bright, he has flash. You might want to look at the Ohio State-Clemson game, I would say, from a couple of years back, where he just dominated. Trevor Lawrence probably had nightmares of Jonathan Cooper after that game, right? So I think he's a guy that, listen, 6'4", 260, good against the run. Better against the run than the pass, but does give you pass rush ability. Has a lot of sacks on some high-name talent. But again, will probably be a guy that could come in, be a run stuffer, 4th and 5th round, and potentially give you some pass rush value with a Dean Pease. I know we mentioned Dean Pease's name at least 10 times a show.
People are going to start to think that we think he's a savior or something.
But if we honest, all of those outside linebackers that you've named, the Dumervilles, the Judons, you've named ballers, right? And you name guys that could come in and have good NFL careers. Now, if you're a Falcons fan like me, you see a Jonathan Cooper get snatched up every year by other teams, and you say, like, man, he was good in college. And when we see him in the NFL, he's beating our team. So he's a guy that let's do this. Hey, light bulb, let's do this. Let's get Jonathan Cooper. Let's get him on our team, and let's watch him help us defeat some of these other teams. So I go Jonathan Cooper, guys. I know, like I said, he's an interesting one. I'd love to hear y'all thoughts on that guy.
What's your thoughts, Toby?
No, I haven't had a chance to watch him, to be honest. I've been watching so many other guys, and I've been hearing his name come up quite often in the Twitterverse. But I definitely am going to go check him out this weekend. He's definitely going to be one of my guys, and Hayes will be another one of my guys I would definitely go look at. But I haven't had a chance to look at him like the other guys mentioned earlier, like Ojulari and stuff like that. So I got to go check that out. I did, check out Paye too, but I just wasn't too moved about Paye.
Well,
so I can't.
And I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Now with Cooper is one good thing I like. And Mike said it in the Clemson game. He plays in big games. He shows up in big games, but then in small games, you don't know where he's at. But he performs on a high level. When it's time to be a big game, he'll be that guy, and that can just show up and show out. Now he's that type of guy where I'm gonna do this analogy real quick, and I'm gonna get off of it. You can have the hamburger, you have the meat and the bread, but you're gonna need tomatoes and lettuce and ketchup and mustard. He kind of like the ketchup and mustard and the lettuce and tomato to finish off that sandwich, but to have that perfect defense that you want. Disciplined guy. I mean, fully disciplined, does his job, bring his lunch pail to work. That's the type of guy I want on my team, and he progress. Consistent.
No doubt. No, I think, it's definitely a guy who got overshadowed, obviously, by the Chase Youngs and the Bosa boys and all that jazz. But he's a guy who has, I think, had Ohio State had a full season, and not just the 5 games in the playoffs, he would have had more. He would have had more hype, I think. But I like him, and if he's there in the 4th round or so, I'd snatch him up in a heartbeat. All right, we are going to keep right on a trucking. Toby D, what you got for me, man?
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all what. I'm gonna start out with the negative first. I ain't even gonna sugarcoat. Because they some of the things that I can see why this guy that I'm about to talk about is paid to go in the 4th round, 5th round, and even Pro Football Focus actually has him going 7th round in our draft, which I don't see happening. But I'm going to tell you the negative, the reason why I think I see that. This guy does not have an effort, willingness to want to stop the run. That's just not his passion, and unfortunately, you can see that on tape. There's times he gets frozen like a deer in the headlights, and he just don't know who's got the ball between the handoff or the quarterback and to the running back, or the quarterback gonna keep it. There's one time where he knew the running back was gonna get it, and he just stood right there like, okay, whatever. But so I'm just gonna throw that out there because that is one knock on him, which I can see why. But if you're taking him at a 4th, 5th round, you're not taking him in the 1st round, okay, so be it. Because that's about where he would belong. Because you know what he does do well? He can get after the quarterback. And you want a guy to stick on the quarterback, this is a guy that you need to go get. 7.5 sacks, 11.5 tackles for loss for the year in 2020, right on the opposite end from his buddy Chris Rump, who's also coming out in this year's draft as well. Both of those guys, we can have it. I could have did a 1-2 punch, but I decided not to do it because I wanted to go with Jaelan Phillips here. But this is a guy that comes with a bevy of pass rush moves. He has that. Now, me, I don't look into that too much because a lot of times when you come out of college going to the NFL, a lot of those moves do not translate on the NFL level. Which is why I like a Jaelan Phillips, because he seems to have mastered the inside swim move he loves to use. But I'll tell you, like Jaelan Phillips, this guy can rush standing up. He can rush with his hands in the dirt. First, initially, when I watched him, I thought he was a better rusher standing up until I watched that Boston College tape. And he said, shut your mouth, Toby D. I can rush with my hands as well. 3.5 sacks in that game. Now, Hunter Long, the tight end, and that's another story for another day, tried to steal the shine in that game against Boston College. But this guy right here, he can definitely get to the pass and has a spin move when he needs to use it. And Adamski brought this to my attention, what they call a ghost rush, where it looks like he's going to initially do a stab club move, but actually takes both of his arms away and becomes like slick oil and balances himself to get to the quarterback. So that tells you right there, he can definitely be in the corner and don't have to always use his hands to do it. I had never seen that move before in my life.
Right.
But this guy seems to know how to do the ghost rush pretty well. And if he can take that move into the NFL, he definitely got something. So I would definitely take him to get out to Tom Brady, who pretty much threw the ball just as much as Matt Ryan. It's just that it was unnoticeable because they went to the Super Bowl and won. But I like this guy, Victor Dimukeje is his name. And I think he would be a great guy to take as a steal, and you can work on him working in the run game and see if you can get that out of him.
If you're taking him in the 4th, 5th round, you could definitely we'll work on the run game stuff. Like I ain't trying to take
JR. No, I was just gonna say, JR, I ain't got fired up by no lower round pick, but Toby, you done got me fired up. Ghost mode for a guy potentially undrafted. What? Keep going, JR. Got me
Well, look,
fired
I'm just
up,
saying,
man.
if you're gonna draft a guy who all he's gonna do is get after the quarterback and that's it, then hey, the 5th round, 6th round, that's where I want that guy.
Yeah.
Don't give me a number 8th overall pick and all you want to do is get after the quarterback.
No, Doc. It ain't gonna fly.
It's I'm gonna definitely have to go back and check this out. Just off of the Ghost Rush alone, I need to go back and check this out,
Man.
because
Right.
that's pretty good.
You can't get it. You can't get into Duke and not know how to do certain things that
Right.
other people can't. So the guy got the brain smarts now, and he low center of gravity, and he
There you
got
go.
balance.
I like it. I like it.
You can tell that he definitely games playing for his opponent, and that's what
There
I
you
like
go.
to see. That's what you want to see with a pass rush. But he just got to work on that run game a little bit. But if you gonna, like I said, he got to be a special team core player if he gonna come in that 4th, 5th
Look,
round. You got to.
We love Dumerville like crazy, right? He ain't trying to play no run, So if you can develop, you can be a pass only guy, right? So anyway, all right. No, I like it. I like that. You definitely got me fired up there.
I'm telling you, man. You feeling good
right.
over here.
Jimmy, what you got for me, brother?
I mean, I'm going to not a Power 5 conference, so don't chat. Do not ride me into the ground about this. But I like to be an oddball sometimes. And I'm going with Ellison Smith out of University of Northern Iowa. Now hear me out now. 6'7", 245, just raw, just pure rawness. Okay, had a somewhat good Senior Bowl. Now I went back to his Senior Bowl highlights when they did the lineman versus the defensive lineman, and he was getting there, and he was taking on Power 5 conferences offensive linemen and kind of making some of them a little silly. And then he got stalemated a couple times too. Now, but I think this is the only knock on this kid. He just didn't play against no really Power 5 conference teams. You can't, but he kind of shut a lot of people up at the recent Senior Bowl when he was doing those because I can watch the recent Senior Bowl and then watch the game. That ain't gonna do nothing for me. I want to see those one-on-ones that the half line versus the half defensive line type of practices. And I want to see that and he's excelled at that now. The thing about him, he's gonna have to gain weight at 262 up in there. You're gonna have to put on a little more weight at that outside linebacker position. But he's a great edge pass package to put in. But he also plays the run pretty good because he's long. Now he's very long. Now what I think about him, what the scouts is kind of putting out there that he'll be perfect in the 3-4 defense. So here go that guy's name, mama. There go that man again, Dan Pease, 3-4 scheme. This is who we can work with this, right? We can at this late of a 3rd, 4th. Now he was in the 4th. He was there in the 4th, and after the 4th, I didn't see him too much after I did a couple simulators. So he looking like a 4th round guy. He got a good upside on him. He hustles. His motors runs kind of like your guy. His motors just continues to run. Even when the player away from him, he's still moving around, trying to get into something. He's trying to disrupt something. Okay. So I like a 6'6", 6'7", 262, 270. You're probably gonna have to get to about 275 with Dan Pease. But I can see Dan Pease getting this guy and molding him into somebody that he can turn into a star and help this defense get off the field. So that offense and Matty Ice, and yes, I did say Matty Ice, can come on the field and try to do some work. But Ellison Smith, University of Northern Iowa, the only knock I think he didn't really play against no Power 5 conferences. But man, when he got to that recent Senior Bowl with them one-on-ones, he was excelling, and the guy got a great upside. Got better every year, like JR said. I want to see that progression. Right. And I think, like you said too, JR, I think he could be a better NFL player than he was in college. And that's my take on Ellison Smith. I like him.
Well,
late round
that was definitely a name I had not heard. And, so I don't have much. Well, I don't have anything to add. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't have nothing to add to him.
They got his Senior Bowl cut-ups where he was going against the offensive line. They got it on YouTube.
Check it out.
Go catch him.
Right.
Man, look good.
And again, not to sound like a broken record, to piggyback off of that, I think that we talked Dean Pease, like I said, Joshua B. Sleep, Dean Pease.
Oh, right. Yeah, he should be paying us.
the 16th time for Dean Pease. I'll say, to be honest with you, I hate to give the comparison, but you look at Matt Judon. I think that Jimbo, that could be the next Matt Judon. I think that smaller school, Grand Valley State, Northern Iowa, I think he dominated against competition. Ellison Smith was a guy I had no clue of until you brought him to my attention. And when I looked at him, I was like, this could be a guy that I think that, now, to be honest with you, if it was our previous regime, I'm not sure they would have been able to utilize this guy. But again, that's why for the 17th time in the show, we say Dean Pease. We put our hope in Dean Pease. And again, me and Jimbo, we won't overuse the word like we did with Joe Witt Jr. Shout out to Joe Witt Jr. wherever you at. But like I said, he's a guy that Jimbo, I like him. And if he there, fourth, probably fifth round, they get the pound for pound family.
Yeah, no doubt.
Comfortable with him. Really quick.
Like for the ones who are in chat, hanging around with us, like the whole point of this particular discussion was to try to take a look at, the pass rush situation of our Dirty Birds, and not valuing one over the other, whether it's pass rush or anything else. But, we bring up, especially in this episode, we brought up Mr. P's name a million times, but the only thing I can go by at this junction is what he's had in the past, right? What he's looked at, what he's, what he's had on his team. And, you start to see patterns in like body types, production, stuff like that. And so, we've tried to go out and find guys like that, but, I think that, the back end play for Pease is probably more important, as far as like coverages and, safety play and stuff like that, if I had to actually nail it down. But like I said, I figured it'd be fun to talk about pass rush, because just like everything else, sacks are fun to talk about, and sacks are like the defensive home runs, right? Sacks and interceptions. They can be, momentum shifters. They can be things that get you hyped and get you, just like interceptions. You get an interception that can, but it's not. But it's a team sport, right? Everything has to work in sync. Because if it don't, that's the reason why I love football. That everything has to be working. Very rarely can you get one aspect to carry an entire team. The only time I saw a defense completely and utterly carry an offense was the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning in his last year. That man's arm was dead, and they won the Super Bowl because of that defense. But anyway, we did it once again, guys. We have bumped up over an hour, which is amazing.
Wow.
No, Adam, I definitely, yes, my comments were off of your comments. I know you wasn't knocking us, but it is something that I didn't want people to get the wrong impression on, that we thought fixing the pass rush was going to be all we need to be a Super Bowl team. That's not what we were saying. There was just this, particular scenario this week. 2 weeks from now, we'll come up with a different scenario to have fun with, right? Anywho, like I said, we did it again. We've talked up over an hour. I think we brought up some real good, interesting people. I hope y'all go and take a look at those guys on YouTube. Check them out, especially the Ellersons and the Victor. How'd you say his last name? Yeah, that guy. Okay. No. I'm good. I did it.
One time.
Say it again. Hold on. Say it again. Dimukeje.
There it is.
Yes. There we go. So yeah, go check those guys out, along with Dalen Hayes and Jonathan Cooper. I bring up those fourth round guys and lower, because those are the guys that can come in and really make a difference. They can really solidify your team. Just think about obviously our own Grady Jarrett, 5th round pick, and is an absolute monster. So as always, y'all can catch me on Twitter. Y'all can find me there. I'm at Grim1128. Jimmy?
You can catch me on Twitter at Jimmy Obama, JIMMYOBAMA, and Adam and Wallace. I see y'all, Student Pepperhead, Ghost Style, y'all. Good to see y'all, man. Big Mike.
Hey, man, it's your boy Mike Dub, man, and my KE_DUB. Always love every week. Y'all consistent. Y'all stay tapped in, locked in. We love it. Ain't no better place we'd rather be or any better people we'd rather talk to, Toby D, talk to him.
Toby D 1991.
And gentlemen, everybody in the chat, I know we, like I said, this ain't our normal format. We didn't read a lot of y'all's things, but I loved the conversations that y'all were having. I think it was amazing. But yeah, we appreciate y'all. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.